Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, March 25th, 2024 meeting of the Grafton Planning Board. We're doing this as a hybrid meeting with Zoom. Could we
Certainly.
check to see who all can hear and see?
All right. So, present in the room, we have Mr. Davidson,
Here.
Mr. Robbins,
Present.
Mr. Hassinger,
I'm here.
Mr. Wood is here, and on Zoom we have our member, Prabhu Venkatraman,
I'm here.
and then we have an associate member, Ms. Bresnahan,
Here.
and then staff present is our town planner, Ms. Coughlin,
Here.
and is Natalia on Zoom?
Yes.
And our,
Present.
thank you. Saves me some words.
How did I manage that? Okay. The first thing on our agenda, as usual, is public input. If there's anybody on Zoom or in the room that has something to talk to us about that's in our purview and isn't on our agenda. Otherwise, this is the time. Anybody? Don't see anything. Alrighty. I managed to lose my critical page. With request to withdraw without prejudice, Farmsville Acres MRSP 2023-12/PP 61 Maple Avenue. Is somebody here to talk to us about that?
So Mr.
Or out on the internet?
So Mr. Chair, this was a error on my part. The applicant actually continued until April 8th. We mistakenly thought it was today. So we were going to take this up at that time and told him that date. So there is nobody here, but I do see Natalia's hand is up.
Yes, Natalia?
He did say he was gonna come supposedly today, because I did send him the email, so I'm assuming he's coming. He was gonna participate by Zoom, he said.
Okay. I do not see anybody here. As the board knows, this is the third time that we've brought this up. And the board can exercise their discretion as they see fit. As I mentioned before, we did continue until the 8th because technically the public hearing is still open. And I think that a few meetings ago, we said that we would kind of follow that rhythm, but, happy to.
We don't have a request to continue the meeting, so we don't necessarily have tolling of the time frame.
We do have a continuance request in the record that was submitted on
Oh.
March 8th for April 8th.
So yes,
Oh, we do?
our
Yeah.
March 11th meeting, we took that request to continue up, and we did approve that request to continue till April 8th.
Oh, all right. What's the wish of the board?
I'd be
If-
content to,
Okay,
postpone the action on the withdrawal request to the continued public hearing.
Yes.
Same.
okay. Is there a motion? Or any other opinion? Well, I don't hear a motion.
I don't. Do we need to motion to continue it to the?
Yes,
To the next
if we have a written request, we have to vote whether to grant it or not.
I think we'd kind of agreed at our last meeting that we would take up the withdrawal request at the continuation of the public hearing, but because it is on our agenda for this evening, I will move that we table consideration of the withdrawal request and take it up during the public
No,
hearing.
he requested a continuance of the hearing.
We've already
And
approved.
we already approved that.
We did.
Yes.
We voted to
Okay,
approve
yeah.
that last meeting.
It's very confusing with the agenda.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry. Sorry about that.
All right. Okay, anyway, motion
Second.
seconded. Discussion. Hearing none.
All right, Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Venkataraman
Aye.
and Mr. Hassner.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Don't need that. Okay, next is approval under subdivision control not required, 48 Old Upton Road, Henry McGill Trust and McGill Associates.
So, Mr. Chair, if I may, I'll do a
Yes.
brief introduction. So the applicant is requesting to do really, it's three separate steps. It's really two things. So this parcel A here would be removed from, map 84 lot 3 and would be granted to the town as part of the open space area, in the Highfield subdivision that's protected by a conservation restriction,
Could you show me where it says parcel A?
right here. So it's a portion.
So this is Byron Andrews. I apologize. I've been having computer problems. I just joined you if you have any questions.
Relative to this
Yes.
case.
Yes.
Yes.
I looked around that drawing as well as my computer would let me today, and I couldn't find parcel A.
Parcel,
couldn't find-
that's parcel A right there.
Okay, I see. Parcel A. Oh. Okay, well,
So it's a portion of 48 Old Upton, that will be removed from the current lot and, dedicated to the town as, and protected under the conservation restriction. So the area, let me zoom out for a second. So this entire area here, map 100, map 100 lot 300 is, open space, that part of the Highfield subdivision. So they're adding onto it, adding parcel A onto that, and they're also going to be adding, map 83 lot 201, this corner down here, to the open space as well.
Yeah, that one is it's an unbuilt house lot at 11 McGill Drive.
Right.
it looked to me as though the right-hand sideline was moved from what I found in Map Geo.
Okay. This sideline, Mr. Chair?
What's that?
This sideline here?
No.
Or,
Down in the, this is such a pain. Down where the curve in the road is.
yeah,
See there, that parcel. There's, well, yeah, where it says, property line
to be abandoned.
being
Yep.
eliminated. The sideline, the almost vertical line on the right. You see, going from the street back to the large part of the land. That is tilted to the left now. On Map Geo, it's a straight line.
If I could
Yes.
interject, I'm sorry, I apologize. That, the way it's shown on the plan is correct. There've been a couple of different plans of that area that shifted the property lines back and forth. But if you check the deed for the abutting lot, those are the lines that were conveyed. So that's the space that's still open. It's on map one, Plan Book 766, Plan 105, which is the original approved subdivision plan.
Yeah, well, maybe our Map Geo needs work, because what it shows puts the sideline 7 feet from the house that's on that lot to the right of it. So anyway, it's more than a little confusing. Okay,
And it reminds me once again that when we read the parcel boundaries on Map Geo, the parcel boundaries are generally not aligned with actual surveyed boundaries. And I've seen countless examples of that. What tends to happen is for example, when a surveyed plan is recorded and then the GIS is updated from that, boundaries will shift around. They will, as they update the GIS, try to align the boundaries with reality. But a lot of the GIS boundaries are very imprecise, and particularly the ones that have been in the system for quite a while.
Yeah.
So that's it. You always have to look at MapGeo with a substantial grain of salt, because those are definitely not guaranteed to be accurate with respect to the on the ground surveys.
But it's the best information we have readily available, particularly at home
Yes,
when we're doing our,
and we just have to realize that it's not as reliable as we would like it to be.
Yeah.
well, in any case, you said three things. Did you get all three, or did I?
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
it basically summarized.
Yep. In the bigger picture, the land that these two parcels are being joined with is basically the golf course.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay.
I move that the board finds approval is not required and direct staff to do the appropriate documentation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Veckatraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Alrighty. Approval under, oh yes, 5 and 7 Stratton Road. Approval not required. 2024-03. This is the tennis club.
So, let me just get there. So this.
So good evening. Good evening. This is Norman Hill from Land Planning. Can you all hear me okay?
Fairly
So
well.
we had to revise this plan to add area to lot 1. And so you see that parcel A, which is on the back portion of lot 2, that's about 3,600 square feet. We had to add that to lot 1. In our zoning bylaws, under the definition for lot area, it says in there that you can only count 25% of your wetland area. So when Bob Berger looked at the lot area for lot 1, and Eric Gilmore is looking for a building permit on lot 1, and Robert Berger notified us we didn't have enough lot area because we could only count 25% of the wetland area. So we had to revise this plan to take some land from lot 2 and add it to lot 1.
And there's no issue with the area for lot 2 for
No,
reducing it?
both lots will now have sufficient area when you count 25% of the wetlands. So both lots will now meet zoning fully.
The calculations are here.
Yeah.
There are no provisions in our zoning to prevent these pork chop lots.
Yeah, I would say
Which-
I really don't like these chop blocks. It just doesn't
Yeah.
feel like the overall intent. But there's nothing that we have in our zoning to say no, and
That's
this
correct.
is and I would say this still does follow under approval not required. So I will make a motion that the board finds approval is not required and direct staff to do appropriate documentation.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Davidson,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Veckatraman,
Aye.
and Mr. Hassinger.
I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now,
Right.
15 minutes. Are we gonna make it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think. I mean, I guess it depends on questions. I think the draft was
Okay.
uploaded with enough time to get
Okay.
through it, but
Okay, well, we don't actually have to start the hearings at precisely 7:30. We can't start them until 7:30, just if we're close.
And we could also pause our discussion on the.
Yeah, but
If
I
we do.
would
And
like,
it's
I would
more
prefer not to
confusing
do that. Hard enough to remember what they just said, not
I
an
get it.
hour ago. Okay, draft decision on,
95.
I'm
West-
trying to, there it is, 95 Weston Street. Special permit. We have a draft decision most recently,
Yes.
worked on today with, some recommendations that were sent to us. What, did your email get put in the record? Your email about the recommendations?
No, I don't believe so. I didn't think to do that, but I'll summarize what I said.
Yeah,
To
okay.
the public. So, just a brief overview for the board. You're all familiar with this, but for those who are on Zoom and in the room, we're going over the draft decision for 95 Weston Street. We closed the public hearing on March 11th, and now we've drafted the decision. So we're not taking public input. There was a couple of comments that were submitted to me, clarifying comments, which were basically pertain to the language, just making sure that it's very clear that it's 10 decibels above ambient noise level at the property line. So I think there was one area where I didn't get that specific, and I should have. It was one of the findings. There was also I made I have comments in the draft discussing what I did, but two other things were, firstly, I was trying to find a middle ground between abutters and comments that we've heard and comments the board has considered versus the information that the applicants presented to us. Upon advice from council, we have to go off of the information that is given to us and need to talk about it together before we can make a decision. And by together, not really me, the board. It'll be the board's decision. Because I had originally floated the idea of ending hours of operation an hour earlier, and I also floated the idea of some provisions of the live music. Upon reflection, and as discussed in the last hearing with the board, particularly concerning the live music, it really, I was a proponent for setting some baseline parameters for other boards and committees in town that the applicant will eventually have to go to as part of this use. But upon further evaluation and advice from council, it's not advised. We really should leave the decision making for the live music to the select board, for obvious reasons. I mean, it's a little bit beyond the purview of this board. So I struck that language out in the conditions. And yes, and I did send an email today to the board, basically highlighting what I just explained, which I did not upload into the record, and I should have. So my apologies, and I'm happy to do, share that information with anyone who's interested. And follow those appropriate channels. But it really was a circulation of the version 2, this draft, which I updated today, the Monday morning, with those minor edifications. So the draft was uploaded to the meeting materials on Friday afternoon at 3:30. I made a couple minor edits that I just explained this morning after double checking some things, and that is where we're at today. So we want to be as transparent as possible, and happy to answer any questions that the board may have and go through the language within. But just reiterating that council did look at all of these conditions and advised me accordingly.
Questions? Does everyone feel that they know what is in the decision? And are you okay with it?
And I'll
Or is anyone not?
No, I
So I'll
have
go
one
down.
minor question that we can get to, but it's relatively minor in nature.
Sure.
I think there were maybe a couple of, questions that you had, Fiona, for the board, for the things that, you kind of wanted the board to weigh in on, so. Unless there are other specific questions, I'd probably like to nail those down and
Yeah.
and get to my one minor question.
Sure.
All right, why don't you?
Sure. Yeah. So we'll start. So they're listed here. So just something that I think that the board should consider as we finalize this draft is setting a maximum capacity, max occupancy load came up, and obviously this isn't in a building, so that particular language isn't, this is outside in an open area, but because of the issues that we've heard about the parking and traffic monitoring, et cetera, having some additional language in here to kind of set a baseline of like max car, just reiterating that throughout the decision, I think would be helpful, especially if the applicant is going to have to install permanent bathrooms within 3 years and a septic. It is documented in the decision that, there's certain parking spaces and the parking calculation is, I wrote out in the findings how we arrive at that. So this is just an additional piece of information that.
Well, is there any question about making a change to the draft on that?
Well, I would probably include, that as a condition.
Right, the draft does not currently have a maximum capacity condition, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yep. And in finding 42 as the example where you marked the comment, that 312 attendees, remind me, that was 312 people that are not employees, is that correct?
Right, that's correct. Yep, there's gonna be, from what I recall, there's gonna be 4 full-time employees, 2 part-time, 2 full-time, 1 employee lives one employee, will be parking at their home and walking to work, and 1 employee will be using one of the parking spaces, and that's how that's what was discussed in the public hearing.
Yeah.
So if in finding 42, the applicant is estimating an occupancy load of maximum of 312 attendees, would the board want to include a condition basically reflecting that?
Comment.
It's not, I'm just being an applicant, are we allowed to sit up here for this?
I can't hear him.
He's asking if he can come forward, but we're not taking public comment
No.
on this.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
being the applicant, no, sorry.
So yeah, I definitely think that we should set a max. I think it makes it's a good suggestion and something that we should probably do. I'm leaning toward wanting our max to include the employees because of the septic conditions. So my rough back and napkin thinking right now is we set a max of 325, including employees, including active employees at the time.
312.
Absolutely, 325 including employees. So our
okay.
max.
Right, so you're recommending that the board set a maximum slightly more than what the applicant has estimated.
That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking.
Which
Right.
is not a,
But we don't have the parking to support that. There's 104 spaces are calculated, assuming.
That's assuming
people
3 per car. You can
Right.
have, in theory, you can have 7 in a van. With so that's why I'm
Okay.
kind of roughly thinking 325 is the
Okay.
max, including employees.
yeah, we just have to have kind of some reasonably rational basis for that. And yes, estimating based on 104 parking spaces and an assumption of 3 per car, which is only an estimate
Right.
anyway.
And as we mentioned during the public hearing, people do walk to the farm.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it's very, very, that's hard to account for, but, having some sort of benchmark, at least for the bathrooms.
And as I recall, the applicant had stated to us that they typically, they're not full up like that.
Yes,
So that's
correct.
sort of
People
a-
come and go.
We're
Yeah.
sort of, making a bit of a worst case estimate. What's the most you might expect?
Yeah.
It'd be like a wedding venue or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to make predictions about this, and
It is.
If they have a great act, who knows?
I mean,
But I've given some other stuff I was reading today that came through. I'd suggest that somehow in the decision, the rationale for where the number comes from would be helpful to include.
Yes, I do explain a little bit in finding 42, but yes, I'll do that.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and my thinking for including employees is because if someone's working at this area in their business, it's likely even if they live right next door that they'd use the on-site, per built up bathrooms. Not guaranteed, but likely.
I don't think we can be that precise
But
anyway.
that's
It's a
my
reasonable,
estimate. Yes.
it's a reasonable number, a little more than the parking spaces.
Okay.
But explaining, apparently, it's good for us to explain things.
Right. Right. Yeah. Given it, I'm happy to do that. I think that's a good
Okay.
idea.
What else? We're,
Hours?
Yeah. So just going off of my comment earlier, legally we have to work within the parameters that were provided. The applicant has, said that they want to do a seasonal use, May 1st and November 1st, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then the additional, operations will be settled elsewhere. But I had originally, as I mentioned, adjusted the hours of operation based for discussion for the board, based on comment and what will be, what the use is permitted under this permit, and just revised it back to 10 p.m. because again we have to work with what we're provided legally, and that's all I did.
there's, in terms of the entertainment and alcohol, there'll be permits from the select board. And they, I think in both cases, they can set the hours.
Yeah. I think that, so for this condition, C3, sorry, just blanked. C3, I had originally floated the idea because the applicant had proposed during the hearing that they would be amenable to ending the music at 9, and there was a request from abutters to end in general at 9. So I had floated that and then fixed it to be back to 10 because the applicant actually never did tell us that they or agreed to that. So that was my fault, and I corrected it.
If it's the selectmen's job and their power, let's let them do it and let's get to a decision.
Yeah, this is just hours of operation, which is totally in our purview. The music is what, which is C4, is the next thing. I just struck this out.
Yeah.
It's just a level of specificity. We just don't need to.
Yeah, let's just leave the hours of operation
Yep.
as in this current draft.
Are we gonna make this in the next 5 minutes?
Yes, I think so.
I think that's a good
Yes.
chance.
You have
And then my only other comment was, this was something that we, this is a possibility. It wasn't really discussed at length, but it was mentioned before, and I'm assuming that it's probably not something that we would consider, but slightly adjusting the placement of the tent and the intermittent tent to move it a little bit further back to create an additional buffer. But, it was something that was discussed at one point. It wasn't really brought around again. I put it in there for consideration, but again,
I'll say my thoughts on that for three main things from my thoughts. Number one, we have a plan that is in the record that shows where it is. And if we're saying we need to change it, then we're saying we need a different plan, and that's a can of worms to go down. The second thing is, I think the position of the tent right now and where they have the seating means that the music is going to be directed away from neighbors. And if they move the tent and don't move the seating, then the direction gets closer, more toward the road, and it's harder to mitigate that sound level. And then if they move the seats as well, that means it's more there. The people will be closer to where the cars are driving. All things I'm not a huge fan of.
yeah, I was thinking further north, but yes, I know what you mean. Yep.
Seems to me that if it's possible to reserve an option to address this, if it proves to be a problem, would be good.
Yeah.
But
Okay. That's similar to how we addressed our conditions regarding noise, light, and traffic. Is that should there be issues, the applicant will need to come forward for a modification of the permit and install additional mitigation measures. That's
Yeah,
the
well,
appropriate avenue.
we might have to initiate it on our own, because we're being asked, at that point, we'd be being told and asked that there was a problem. So it would be our job to correct it.
Yeah.
Or look at what can be done to correct it.
Yep.
Okay, so,
And
are we set yet?
one last thing, that because there was a there was a comment that did come up about alcohol consumption on site and clarifying that language, which I modified condition C6 to say alcohol shall be consumed in designated eating and drinking areas on the site plan, which include the picnic table / eating area and the intermittent tent when assembled, comma, enclosed by a 4-walled structure or enclosed with fencing and marked with appropriate signage. So it's just it's trying to be very clear here. You know, we've heard that people wander with drinks. It's a problem if we keep it in a designated area, similar to other farms, restaurants that do this type of thing. I tried to structure it in a way that
Yeah,
makes sense.
you might say, if you don't, and satisfactory to the chief of police. He's the one who usually shows up.
And that gets to the point that I wanted to raise with respect to this. I'm thinking back to the outdoor dining permits we've issued, that wherever alcohol consumption is allowed outside there, we sort of include the chief of police in the decisions about exactly how that is to be managed.
Yeah. He's included in the flea market too.
he did
Okay,
review this.
all right.
Well.
Now,
So on condition 6, if that language is sufficient to give the chief the
I think we should mention the
authority he
chief.
needs.
I think we should mention the chief. Or
Okay.
somehow take him in,
Yeah.
take in that
Do we want to just give the police chief the authority to dictate this, or
no, and satisfactory.
Right.
What you said, and
Okay.
satisfactory to the chief of police.
Yes, so the chief may actually want to place additional restrictions. So we're
Or
setting.
he
we're
may
setting-
find it's necessary
Right.
at some point.
Yeah.
He may find that what is done is not
Yeah, so if
not
we,
good enough.
right, if we include him in,
Yes. Okay,
that
now,
addresses everything I have.
Good.
trying to get to
So
the end,
I will offer a motion
please.
to make favorable findings and to grant the permit with the conditions all as drafted, as further modified as by this discussion,
And the waivers,
and grant the requested waivers.
the remaining requested waivers. We already granted 2.
Yes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? No.
Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Venkatraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you all. Everyone stay well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we,
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
oh, well, I think we're gonna have to hold off on E,
So
until,
let's circle back to E after the hearings.
yeah. Okay, that brings me to public hearings. The first one is a request for major residential special permit and preliminary plan, Farnhamsville Acres, 61 Maple Avenue.
Yep.
But
That's the same.
you reminded me that, or you told me that we voted to
yes,
grant a continuance of this hearing until our next meeting.
yes,
So it really doesn't belong on the agenda.
yes. Sorry, that was a clerical error.
Okay,
Apologies.
so, we've already,
We've already dealt with that one. Right.
we've dealt with that one, right. Request for modification of definitive plan the Ridings,
Yes.
88 Adams Road.
And this is a new hearing, Mr. Chair. So the Grafton Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 25th, 2024, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in Conference Room A of the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, Grafton, Mass., to consider an application to modify a definitive plan approval, requesting approval of a 2-year extension of the construction completion deadline of the Ridings subdivision, a 39-lot subdivision, residential subdivision, on property located at 88 Adams Road and shown on Grafton Assessors Map 32, Lot 10. Said property is located in a low-density residential R40 district. The applicant/owner is Stephen Benincasa of Casa Investments, Inc. A copy of the application material is available for public inspection at the Planning Department during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Projects webpage.
Okay. I seem to recall that we customarily only grant 1-year extensions. Does anyone recall otherwise?
I should look it up. Do I have it on handy? I think, and of course that depends on which version of the subdivision rules this was granted. I think this was issued under the subdivision rules before they were amended. And I think we amended them a couple years ago to allow extensions of greater than 1 year.
Yes, this was approved in,
This was approved quite a while ago.
yeah, May 2021. Yeah, the original decision was recorded at the Registry of Deeds on May 20th, 2021.
Yeah. But
And
in any case, we just, when the rule changed, we made it possible to
Yes.
extend more than one. But as I say, our custom has been
Yes.
over many years to only extend 1 year. Part of the reason for that is so that every year they come in and talk to us, and we can get a handle on what's happening.
Hi, Julie Benincasa, and my father, Stephen Benincasa, is on Zoom.
I'm kind of interested in the way that project is progressing. You don't usually see a complete, well, first layer, base coat with curbs and everything at this stage with no houses. So that's very interesting.
We're very eager to get started. We're very eager to get started.
I'm sure. You do need to fix your road signs. You should have gotten a letter from her, explaining that.
yes, I can respond to that. Yes, I've been speaking to Greg Schneider, who submitted this letter as part of the application packet about revising those signs. And we're working on that.
Yeah,
It needs to
they
be
need,
approved by
they
the
need
board.
to
I'll
be
touch base with them.
consistent with the town, or be, essentially the town type sign, so that they'll be right when we accept. And, until we accept, they need to also have a private way, on them.
Okay, I'll check in with
Okay.
them about that.
Yeah, well, there's a letter, a message.
Yeah, Greg is working on that, but yeah,
Okay.
just from public safety standpoint. we need to make it right.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. So so the request was just for an extension of the deadline, but were you looking for 2 years?
Yes, or more, because we haven't started any houses yet. So we clearly will need more than 2 years.
Well, yeah.
And if, as Bob pointed out, the board has customarily granted extensions 1 year at a time, we can grant 1 year extensions every year until it's all done,
Yeah.
provided that there is some progress.
Yeah,
That's
but
kind of the
It's a lot of
idea.
houses to build in 1 year.
Yeah, we don't, I mean, something like this, we're surely not expecting you from this point to build up all the houses in 1 year. That's not kind of really, we've had subdivisions in the past that have been kind of slowly built out, but every year they come in for an extension, and they are making progress. Extensions have not usually been difficult.
Has the one on the golf course been totally finished?
I don't think they're quite done yet.
I don't think they're
They're not
quite
done
done,
yet.
and that started when I was young.
Yes, that
Come in every
that-
year.
That goes back close to 20 years.
Yes,
Part of the original approval was an agreement to build just so many houses per year. So that was very intentional, that one be stretched out for a long time. Others have been stretched out more just due to circumstances that limit the amount of construction they can do in any one year. But yeah, I'd like to see this move forward. I'm sure you would like to see this move forward. And
yep.
the
Let's,
question for us is,
let's see if anybody else has any input on this. Either in the room or out on the network. Doesn't seem to be.
No one's hand is raised on Zoom.
Hmm?
No one's hand is raised on
Yep,
Zoom.
okay.
under the particular circumstances, I would not be opposed to a 2-year extension. I would also not be opposed to a 1-year extension, whatever the board prefers.
I prefer 1 year, but if I was the deciding vote, I'd let it go. But yeah, I prefer 1 year because it gives the communication that we usually seek as a general rule. But so I'll move that the board grant a 1 year extension.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion. Hearing none.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, this is a public hearing.
Oh, all
I
right.
withdraw my motion.
Withdraw your motion.
Sorry, I didn't catch
Maybe you have another motion. Maybe you have another motion.
I move that we close the public hearing and direct staff to draft a decision.
Second.
Moved
Sorry.
and seconded.
Can I say something?
Discussion.
And
Here-
I think staff will gather from the discussion the
Preferred,
appropriate time period for which an extension is to be granted.
Yes.
Well, we could even vote that if we needed to, but I don't think we need to.
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument.
I think we understand.
I think you can.
All right.
We have a
Hearing
consensus.
none,
All right, hearing no discussion. Mr. Davidson,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Veckatraman
Aye.
and Mr. Hassinger.
aye. The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll vote the decision at the next meeting.
Thank you. Do you also have any updates on the bond that we sent back in January?
So our council reviewed it and I sent comments to Leonardo. Yeah, but we need confirmation that those comments are okay on your end. So should I just forward them to?
Yeah, I was on that email too. I know
Yeah.
we'd gone back and forth a couple of times. I didn't know if you were waiting for this meeting first or.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, I mean, if the comments are fine, then we can move forward with them, but
Okay.
he just.
I have a draft. Could I leave that with you too?
Yeah.
Okay. And then maybe we could touch base tomorrow.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Julie, may I speak? This is Leonardo. So Fiona, we touch base, and I'm waiting for you to get back to me from town council with exactly what he wants on a bond, because I try, and I know that he wants to make the change on it, but the insurance bond, they don't let anybody else do the change on the bond. So
Right.
I ask you to see if you can get something from like a specific what he means with those with the email he sent, but I never got anything back from you with that or from
How about if you work this out
Okay.
Yeah,
offline?
this is not on our agenda, so we probably shouldn't be
Yes,
having a
it's,
discussion during our meeting tonight.
Okay.
right.
Oh.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, request for special permit SP 2024-02/SPA. Approval 55 North Main Street.
Pursuant to sections 1.5.7 and 1.3.3 of the Town of Grafton zoning bylaws, the planning board will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 25th, 2024, commencing at 7:30 p.m. in Conference Room A of the Grafton Memorial Municipal Center, 30 Providence Road, to consider an application for a special permit and site plan approval request for professional services greater than 5,000 square feet, Truth Organic Spa and Wellness Center, and to allow for reduced parking on property located at 55 North Main Street, shown as Grafton Assessors Map 27 and 19, lots 69A and 69B. Said property is located in a neighborhood business NB zoning district. The applicant owner is Belavenzi LLC, Julie Bovenzi. Excuse me. A copy of the application plan is available for public inspection at the planning department during regular business hours or on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Projects webpage.
Okay, so I will just give a really brief overview. I'm not going to get too into it because I did type out an entire memo about it, but I just want to commend the applicant for a really well done job. I was very, very happy to see that you really did very thorough and really met almost all of our regs, and anything that you're not meeting is obviously being worked out through the ZBA. I think the only thing that I flagged was, I think a portion of the reserved parking area is in the side setback, but there is a provision in our zoning where you can work around that, which I outlined in the memo. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions from the board before I hand it over to the applicant. But yeah, I was very pleased.
Okay, let's let them tell us what they want to do.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Attorney Matt Eckel with Fletcher Tilton here on behalf of Belavenzi LLC. Also with me are Rob Lussier from CMG Environmental, and Julie Lavenzi is back, the owner and operator. We're here, as mentioned, this evening seeking site plan approval and special permits relating to the proposed project at 55 North Main Street. By way of brief background, if the board's not familiar, Ms. Mavenzi operates a spa and wellness center, which offers a wide variety of therapeutic services. The business previously was operating at this location until a fire severely damaged the existing structure, so she's been operating temporarily down the street at 74 North Main Street. She wishes to now return to her property and rebuild what's there, including some additions and improvements to both the structure and the lot as a whole. Part of this is, as you can see there, highlighted in the green, is a very modest side addition and then a rear addition. We can go through the floor plans in greater detail if the board like as we move forward. Additionally, we'd be proposing site improvements to the parking area, which you can see to the right, as well as landscaping, water retention, and the like. The existing structure is located on the left side of the property. Rob, if you can just outline the whole property, I guess, but just to give a little bit better orientation, and certainly Rob can go through the whole site in greater detail. But you can see, so the existing building kind of hugs the left side setback as is, with a curb cut and entry off the street, a little bit to the right of the structure. And then the existing conditions now do provide for parking, but clearly this would be an upgrade to the parking, both circulation as well as materials and drainage. As mentioned, the use is going to stay the same, but because of the increase in size, we would need a special permit because it exceeds the 5,000 square feet. We would also need a special permit for parking in reserve. We're proposing 47 total spaces in theory, but 39 would be built out with 8 held over in reserve. Overall, the structure itself would contain 8,766 square feet. Hours of operation do vary day to day. We'd be looking for somewhere in the range of 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Again, I can go through each day if desired, but all Monday, 7 days a week actually, it would be open, with Sunday having more limited hours, but we'd like that range just for flexibility of 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. We are proposing to have approximately 6 to 8 employees. Because of the nature of this business and how it operates, there is a fairly routine number of patrons expected for certain classes, which is why we believe that the reserve parking is appropriate here, because we do believe that the 39 spaces can accommodate, because it's kind of a regimented industry. There will not be any consistent shipping or receiving activity, and no storage of hazardous materials. I'm happy to talk through in further detail why we think the special permits are appropriate here, but for the time being, I'll turn it over to Rob so we can just walk through the site plan in a little bit greater detail.
Sure. So good evening, everyone. Rob Luce here with CMG, just for the record. Thank you for the kind words about the application. Appreciate it. So similar to just what Attorney Eckel mentioned, 1 acre site smack dab between High Street and North Main Street. There's currently access for a paved parking area on the right side of the building. We're really trying to keep that intact. We're going to be doing some modifications because right now there aren't any marked parking spaces, as well as making sure that there's marked ADA spaces, so there's ADA accessibility into the building, which is shown right near actually the main entrance here. And I'll go to the grading plan later, but we have that graded as well in greater detail to show the ADA accessibility. Currently, right now, there's an existing tree line that sort of hugs the High Street frontage here and basically comes along the right property line. And there's an existing gravel parking area in here. We are basically bringing that existing parking away from the North Main Street frontage to allow some landscaping in the front to be in accordance with the bylaws, because you are required to have some separation to the frontage. And with this, there's 39 parking spaces, paved parking and marked parking spaces proposed, with 8 reserved spaces which are shown here that are dashed. We're hoping the 39 spaces we feel will accommodate the use, and really with not building these 8 reserved parking spaces, it'll help with keeping the vegetative buffer that's existing to the residential house next door. Regarding drainage, as I mentioned, that there's a gravel parking area that's currently existing towards the front of the site. One thing that we did, because there's no on-site stormwater management system currently, and we're proposing one that's in accordance with the Massachusetts stormwater regulations. But in order to be conservative with our calculations, we did not account in our existing conditions this gravel parking area because there isn't any stormwater controls currently. So what we did, we actually essentially called that wooded area, which is going to cause much more conservative numbers in our pre-existing calculations. So it's really adding a safety factor on our stormwater design, which I believe is under peer review currently. So I don't want to get too into it unless there's questions from the board, which I'll be happy to answer. But basically, underneath the proposed parking area, we're proposing Coltech plastic chambers with the stone surround, and that's going to hold basically the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, and 25-year storm events. During the 100-year storm event, it almost holds all of it. There's about 1 CFS that ends up discharging. But ultimately, it's been sized. There's really good gravel on the site. And I think that pretty much covers the main, the overarching topics for this. We are also keeping the existing utilities to the existing structure. Those will be utilized. We have a proposed landscape plan as well, which I have on another board. I can show that if anybody has questions. But with that, I can leave that. That's really the overarching items, I believe.
So you mentioned ADA access with this new plan. Was there ADA access with the existing conditions prior to the fire?
I know
thought
that,
so, but I was wondering to double check.
yeah, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
there
believe
is
there's a ramp in the rear.
There's ramps towards the back.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the ramp you can kind of see on the plans. It's a little difficult with the shading on this plan, but correct.
But we are now proposing as well an interior lift,
Well, you're gonna be using,
the 2 floors. It's a lower level and then the main floor.
is the new addition gonna be 2 floors also?
Yes, yes. We'll carry.
I'm just curious. Don't need too much to know.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
pull up the elevations though, just so you can see them. Bear with me for a moment.
Lots. I think it's like non-resting surface.
We haven't pulled up the
Oh,
screen. If
there we
that's-
go.
Yeah, it might be easier. If I use my screen, just let me know.
Yeah. I think the next page, if it's the right elevation, I think kind of tells the story.
Yes.
You beat me to it.
Yes. So your front door will now be on the side,
Correct.
facing the parking lot.
That will be the accessible door, correct? We'll still have the old front door. We can go to the front elevations as well, but we'll have two entrances there. There's also a third means of egress out the left side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've wondered how the parking was gonna work if you walked around to the front or went up the ramp and the back.
Yes, that's the front elevation. And then this is the side that's facing the parking area. So basically your two ADA spaces will be right here with the striped aisle located between them.
And I might guess that that entrance facing the parking lot will probably be used by most patrons as primary entrance.
It will be the closest to the parking, yeah. So, yeah.
So they'll be entering on the lower level there.
Correct. Yeah, that's the lower level, and then the upper level, which I believe is shown on this line here. That's where the
Yep.
upper level is.
I think, I don't know now, but back in the day, the street, the entrance on the street brought you in and up onto the,
Yeah. So it's almost like a split level in the front. You got a landing, and you can either go up to the upper level or down to the lower level.
Yep.
So that's not going to be the case with the new addition.
okay. Do you have more, or can we look for comments, or?
I am happy to go through the special permit criteria if the
okay.
board would like. I'll let
I
the
read the
memo stand.
amazing application. I think we need to make a rule tonight that all future applications will be at least that good. And at least that they're, but I did read
Please.
through all of it.
Excellent.
I will note, I think Rob might have mentioned it, we have not heard on peer review yet, so we do
Okay,
anticipate
so
getting some
we
feedback
can't-
there.
We couldn't close it tonight
Yeah, so
anyway.
if nothing else, we will be waiting for the peer review reports.
Yes, and if I may, so we received confirmation from Graves that we should be getting that by midweek. So they'll.
Okay, it's been a long time since it came up, but I remember somewhere in the rules, there is, a provision about parking lots, and, either they're paved or something like a non-dusting
Material.
material, and then if you haven't found it yet, it'd be good to double check that what we're doing here fits.
I didn't see any issues, but we could
Yeah.
speak to that and it'd be good.
That's,
Are you referring to like a permeable pavement or?
basically, I think permeable.
I think it was called grass pavers. I think it was one of the terms.
Oh, okay.
Use-
Gotcha.
Hadn't
Alright.
conversation
But
before.
I think that has come up.
Yes.
Recently, but the rule, I remember the rule going back, to stuff we did a long time ago. But I don't remember where it is. I
Gotcha.
don't remember exactly what the wording is, but we ought to marry those, check, find it, if we can, and then
Yeah.
look at what you're doing.
If I may, Mr. Chair, yeah, that's a requirement in our site plan review. Section 1.3.3.3. I didn't see an issue.
Yeah, what does it say?
Putting her on the spot, Bob. Putting her on the spot.
She's got a computer.
You do too.
Let's see here.
And she's pretty good with it.
True.
Okay, yep, so it is in our site plan review requirements, but section 4.2.4.4, yep, should be graded and surfaced with a non-dusting material drained and suitably maintained to the extent necessary to avoid nuisance dust, erosion, and any water flow to adjoining properties.
So impervious pavement like this, and we do have a long-term O&M plan that's in our, I don't know if you saw the very large stormwater report that was submitted. If you know, if you're suffering from, sleep deprivation, you can read it. Does the trick. Yeah. So, but that has.
You have two different surfaces in the parking that you were talking about, right? There's a paved area next to the building, existing paved area that you're gonna continue with the paving that's already there.
Yep.
And then you said a gravel.
Yeah, so there's an existing gravel area right now, and we're planning on actually paving.
It's okay.
Yeah, so it'll be paved. Everything will be paved. There won't be any gravel.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Except maybe for the, you won't be doing anything to the reserved.
Correct. Yep, that'll just remain untouched.
And the other
Will it
thing
remain
is,
gravel or will it be
It'll remain just
vegetated?
Vegetated. Yep. We want to just keep it grass and keep the wood line the way it is.
Yeah, there's some recent movement towards encouraging permeable pavement under the low impact development principles.
Yeah.
Permeable pavement is kind of a mixed bag.
Yeah,
It has advantages. As long as it remains permeable, but if it remains permeable is the issue there.
It's all up to the long-term operation and maintenance, which in New England with salting and dust, it's tough.
And the town is being encouraged to adopt more LID principles, which would include permeable pavement. But I think in terms of us requiring, we would certainly not disapprove permeable pavement.
Yeah.
But in terms of requiring it, I don't think we're there yet.
Gotcha.
no,
Bylaws.
no intention to, I'm not thinking about requiring it. Gravel, gotta think about that rule.
Remembering the gravel.
Yep. Absolutely.
So bottom line is no more gravel.
No more gravel.
Post construction, no more gravel.
No more gravel. Yep.
On the
Okay.
topic of parking, it was probably in your document you gave us, but I can't remember where it is right now. I tried skimming for it. What would be the total parking required if you were not asking for reduced parking?
47.
It's 47, yeah. So we're proposing the 39 and the 8 to meet the 47, but 8 would be held in reserve.
Okay.
And just for the record, I thought I saw in actually the memo that we might have cited 14 spaces because at one point the building was slightly bigger. I just want to clarify for the record, it would be 8 in reserve, not 14 if there's anything conflicting.
Thank you. Yep.
I noticed the comment that the lot goes through to High Street, but I don't think it's real easy to get to High Street from the parking.
There's a little bit of a slope there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No.
In fact, is that slope secure? I haven't looked at it. Is it secure?
It's very vegetated, which is nice, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to really kind of keep the limits of our proposed parking area the way it is, because if you do start digging into that slope, it's...
Yeah, you really don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that introduces the whole zoning board of appeal discussion to still come.
Yes.
But
What do you have, is it just the front setback? What do you have to talk to them about?
yes.
Yeah, it's...
But you're
Parking's technically
pre-existing.
within the front setback. It's pre-existing that we're actually improving and really can't go back much further with the topography, but
Right.
that would be what we're seeking relief for.
Yep. Okay.
And you're getting a special permit through the ZBA for the uses, or a special permit through the ZBA as well, right?
We would be seeking...
The extension? Yes. Okay.
That's correct, yes.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Because of the pre-existing use, technically, the 2-year time limit would run out in November.
It being your pre-existing use.
The pre-existing use, yeah, so the use here is staying the same, but we're
Okay, because
seeking through you to make it over 5,000 square feet.
Right,
The
I-
existing use is the professional services.
because I'm remembering when the building was built, it was an entirely different use.
Yeah, so the pre-existing non-conforming use as the spa and wellness center is grandfathered in for 2 years from discontinuance, which started because of the fire. So we're seeking to get the ZBA to extend that so that it doesn't lose that protection because we're going through
Right.
this process.
Right. Okay. I'm wondering if there's anyone who's going to want to talk to us about this. Any comments either on Zoom or in the room? Okay.
Sweeney.
Do you have anything more tonight? Because I think you need to ask for a continuation, perhaps, well, next meeting, I don't know.
Up to
Whenever.
you, but, Fiona said that the town's peer review is expected by midweek this week. You obviously want a chance to go through that and respond in whatever way you need to be responding. Assuming you get the peer review by the end of the week, this board's next meeting would be April 8th. That would give you a good week to work with the peer review and deal with that. I don't want to rush you. You take as much time as you want, but
We appreciate that, but we're certainly excited to move forward, so we respectfully request the continuance till April 8th.
Yeah, she has, that is a form.
And if it gets close to that date and you realize you're not going to be able to have everything in a row, you can always ask for a continuance as well.
Sure. No, absolutely.
But I move that the board approve the to be received written request to continue this hearing until April 8th, 2024 at 7:30 p.m.
second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Mr. Davidson.
Aye.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Venkataraman.
Aye.
And Mr. Hassinger.
I vote aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
See you in 2 weeks.
We'll be here.
Okay. So we've done that. Now,
Action item E.
I know. Recommendation to the select board. Determination of completion. Elm Rock Estates and roadway acceptance warrant article. This is a 40B that was handled through the ZBA.
Yes.
I've been harassing Fiona for ever since I heard about this, about what are we supposed to do. I'm not sure as far as I'm concerned,
Thank you.
I know nothing about how complete, how well done, how anything, because it hasn't come before us. So I don't think that I can say it's good. I can say we've been told it's good by the following. That's all that I could vote for. We've got lots of documentation.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, I'll just give a little bit of background. So for those who are not familiar, who are new to this process, so whenever a road is accepted, or planning to be accepted in a subdivision, the planning board needs to make a formal vote to recommend that road be accepted. So Elm Rock Estates, has been, going through the process for some time, moving, relatively quickly compared to a lot of our subdivisions in town. They have submitted, it is a 40B, so the ZBA oversees all of the requirements through the comprehensive permit process. And they do not have the final authority to recommend to the select board that the road be accepted. They did, when a subdivision is at the end of their process. It's called a determination of completeness. They have filed a determination of completeness application with the ZBA, and it was deemed complete at their meeting 2 weeks ago, I believe. As part of that, there was several requirements, including a construction completeness review and an as-built plan acceptance review, which Graves Engineering conducted and did not see any issues with the road from an engineering standpoint. They have their road acceptance plan here, which I will pull up. It's in the meeting materials, but I'll just pull it up for the board to see. And they also have received their 10 signatures for their citizens petition to accept the road, which is always encouraged to get, but if a board such as the ZBA is sponsoring the road acceptance to get on the town meeting warrant, they technically don't need the 10 signatures, but we encourage them to do so anyway. So this is the road acceptance plan, Elm Rock Drive off of Wheeler Road. Let me zoom. Yes, so they're so we've received all the documentation for the conveyance of easements and utilities, and all the recorded information that would be required as part of a road acceptance process. So, granted, the board, as the chair mentioned, hasn't had a significant amount of oversight in this process. We did, as at the staff level, confirm that they turned in all of their information, particularly all of their their recorded easement deeds, the road deed, et cetera, before filing. So that they're now, and I've been back and forth with council about this process. So the select board took this up at their meeting last week and voted to send this to the planning board to make their recommendation for acceptance at town meeting. So that's where we're at. I know that's kind of a long-winded explanation of what's going on, so feel free to ask me any questions. I've had my, it's not the planning department's purview to oversee comp permits, but I do have my eyes on comp permits, so I can definitely answer any questions. And we do have a memo from the select board. If that's a question. The only outstanding thing is that the town clerk is still verifying the signatures on the citizens petition, but they don't necessarily have to have that at this moment.
Right, I think that particular part of the process isn't really within our purview.
Right.
I mean, that's sort of independent. I mean, the key point here is that the select board has forwarded to the planning board the proposal to have the road accepted by the town. Mm-hmm. Planning board is obligated under the town bylaws to make a recommendation to the select board within 45 days. The interesting thing about this, for those who may not be aware, that this is the first ever 40B in town to be completed to the point where they have a subdivision road that is to be accepted as a subdivision road. Right. There is one other 40B that is in the same situation. They're not there yet as far as being ready to have the road accepted. But these are the only two 40Bs in town that are designed as actual subdivisions with roads that need to be accepted. And we've never done one of these before.
Yes.
So we'll be going through this again sometime soon. Yeah. Maybe not soon. I don't know. That subdivision has been ages in the making, and I don't know that they're even anywhere near ready yet.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic.
That one is like the polar opposite to this one, I would say.
It's interesting to note, if for those also who are unaware, that in the comprehensive permit, the comprehensive permit for this project says explicitly that the rules for road acceptance in the subdivision rules and regulations all will be followed. They all apply, with the zoning board of appeals acting as the planning board, acting where the planning board would normally act under the subdivision rules. this process, the board making a recommendation to the select board, is independent of the subdivision rules and regulations.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you, Dave.
So,
I'm not at all sure that the memo from, the select board administrator's office, actually refers it to us. It tells us they received a notice, but that's,
I
yeah,
did speak to.
I haven't, I don't really like 40Bs. I
Most
think, I
don't.
think we have zoning rules for reasons. And,
but
they,
is my understanding correct that as far as has been communicated, the zoning board of appeals has no reasons to recommend, this board does not recommend the acceptance?
Yeah, the ZBA has already deemed it complete, and received all of the documents that they need. And honestly, the proponent, or the applicant rather, has gotten all of the materials in for the eventual hearing for the select board at this point, which we strongly encourage them to do, and encourage all folks who are bringing road acceptance to town meeting to do, having all of your road acceptance plan, all of your recorded deeds ready to go as early as possible, so there's no
early on,
questions.
you said that we were supposed to give a recommendation, like, hey, yeah, this is good. I'm not sure that they have to have a affirmative recommendation. They need a report from us, an input from us.
Furthermore, if they don't get anything from us, they're free to go ahead and accept the road anyway.
After 45 days.
After 45 days.
Right.
Which is somewhere in the ballpark. So anyway, I'm inclined to say we've been advised by everybody that it is okay.
And we have no further objection. And that we have no further objection beyond that.
Well,
From what we know of.
No,
we've been advised.
we've been based. I would offer a motion to say that based upon the information provided to the planning board recommends acceptance of this road.
I'll have to vote against it. I would say we have been advised by whatever that it is compliant.
And we have no objection.
No?
No, that's right.
Does
I don't have an objection. I'm sorry, I don't.
and this would go in front of the town meeting?
Yes, this is going to town meeting in May.
Select board has to, they have a hearing and they
Yes, they
vote to lay out and adopt or whatever, and then it goes to town meeting for an acceptance.
And then most of the articles on town meeting, I know some of them say like the, finance committee or the planning board recommended this article, and they put that under the warrant. Would we include something like that, or would we just include that statement?
We usually say our report, if there's, for any articles that is in our purview, we'll speak the report out loud.
Right, in this case, we are forwarding a recommendation to the select board.
Right.
The select board
Yes, we are not.
will,
Right, exactly.
I see.
will or will not say anything about that on town meeting
I
floor.
see. So any commentary will be from the select board.
Right.
The
No
thing is, I
comment.
don't know much about this other case, that you mentioned that is maybe not quite as and I'm thinking ahead to what will be happening in the future.
So, Jim, if I may, so if it was, if it was a planning board subdivision, then we would typically sponsor if that was something that the board agreed to do.
No, we don't sponsor.
More often,
For, to road acceptance?
not a road acceptances are almost always done by way of a citizen's petition signed by residents on the road.
You have to get 10 signatures at at the annual town meeting.
But every one of them that I can remember has
Yes.
come to town meeting by way
That's
of a
why I
citizen's
questioned it.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, I missed, but
Yeah.
like the way it's worded on the warrant, submitted by. Okay, yeah, no, never mind.
Not that it necessarily matters to us how it got onto the warrant.
Well, yeah. It's a citizen, it's done with a citizen's petition. Always has been, every time.
Yes,
No,
right.
well, there haven't been any 40Bs, but.
No,
But
I
every,
mean, this is comparable in every respect except the fact that it's a comprehensive permit administered by the ZBA. It is a subdivision road acceptance and follows the usual procedures.
yeah. The citizen's petition goes to the select board. I guess the select board refers it to us for our input. And then it's acted on at town, they do their thing, and then it's acted on at town meeting, based on it being a citizen's
Yep.
petition.
Yep.
So,
All we're required to do here is make the recommendation to the select board.
Yep. so
And I will repeat my motion. I move that based upon the information provided to the board recommends acceptance of this road.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
I had an
If anybody has an alternate motion.
Yeah,
I'm certainly
I had
willing
an
to hear
alternate thought, but I'm fine saying yes to Dave's too. But the alternate thought was the board has received requests for our recommendation on road acceptance. The board is aware of the ZBA's determination of completeness, and the board has no further comment on recommending or not recommending.
I'd prefer that.
that. I'll withdraw mine and we'll go with it, Justin.
Sure. I move what I just said. do you got that, Fiona? Do you need me to try that again?
I'll listen to the recording
Okay.
because I just jotted it down pretty quickly. I didn't get it all, so I will.
So basically, we're making a non-recommendation. It's not a recommendation against, it's not a recommendation for, it's just a non-answer,
Yeah,
basically.
and we're presenting that as our answer, so I don't have to wait the 45 days and, as well to close out.
Does someone want to second the motion?
I seconded it. I think I did, or I intended to.
I missed that you seconded. You withdrew, but I don't think you said.
Yes.
All right. Is there any discussion?
One last question too. I remember in one of our previous meetings we had talked about like the DPW and then potentially being a strain on resources, or like they had to be modeled a certain way, I guess, in the roads, because I think there was an issue with like the maintenance, I guess, of certain areas. If they had extra plants or things like that, that's not an issue. And
It's up to the select board what they do. It's their right of way when it gets accepted. And they need to do whatever they do, I think.
Yeah, that's
Okay?
neither here nor there for us, I
I
think.
say,
It was moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none.
All right, Mr. Davidson,
aye.
Mr. Robbins,
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Veckatraman
Aye.
and Mr. Hassinger.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Now just wait until Joncas Terrace comes around. We've got Joncas Terrace and at least one other road that I can't remember off the top of my head that the town is looking at. They're private ways now. The town is looking at making them public ways. They're not subdivision ways, but the board is still going to be asked for a recommendation.
And that's gonna be a different problem.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Don't wanna deal with it
Look at
now.
the history,
But just
start.
just to put the bug in our ear that
well,
that's coming down the road at some point, probably.
they're still trying to withdraw from, election.
So with that motion, the 45 days needs to run out,
My
right?
my intent was we're offering our answer as
That's
the non-answer.
that's our response.
Okay, so we do. Okay, so
That is our response.
okay,
And I think it qualifies as the required recommendation, even though we're not
it's
stating,
not really.
we're not
recommend-
stating, we're not saying up or down. We're just saying, yeah, we've looked at it.
Well, this is what we know.
Okay, I guess I Yeah.
I think it's sort of weaseling on it a little bit, but, you know, based on the fact that the board did not, how do I want to say it? The board was not in charge of this situation, of this whole subdivision process. That we relied on, the town is relying on the zoning board of appeals to do what the planning board does for normal subdivisions.
Okay, yeah, because I don't know if, I guess I'm not well versed in this enough to know if, like, by saying that, if we're.
If
without-
anybody objects, they'll let us know,
Okay,
okay?
If that's not, well, bottom line is if that's not acceptable as a recommendation, then the 45 days will elapse and the 45 days ends before town meeting, so I don't think it's an obstacle, but
Okay,
I'm,
let's be done
Move on.
with it. Okay, I think the next thing is spring 2024 town meeting zoning articles.
yeah, I don't really have much here because, I'm just gonna keep it really brief. We have a citizen's petition that was submitted to the, to the town administrator's office, following up on the conversation that we had during the hearing, on March 11th. The signatures for, adding clinics, a definition for clinics and hospitals, as well as adding for-profit clinics by special permit in certain zoning districts, but by site plan review in the VMU, which is, what kind of started this. The signatures are being verified by the town clerk, and I haven't gotten an update from her just yet, but I know that she is working on it. So that is my update. I have not been able to get I cannot get a response from Mr. Maxon about the wireless, so there's really I don't really know how else to.
at this point, we don't have time to put anything.
No,
else
we
on the
don't.
spring
Yeah,
town meeting
right.
warrant.
And I had, I did relay that, and I know that he is busy and he was on vacation and what have you, but I just, there's only so much follow-up that I can
Yeah,
do.
we can deal with that for the fall.
On this one, just to ask it, I know since it's a citizen petition, we're not changing it, but does this reflect what we were talking about in terms of the use table?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't double check. I didn't cross references.
Yeah, I wouldn't have written it exactly the way they wrote it, but it's good enough. I think the intent is sufficiently clear, and it covers what we talked about at the last meeting.
And now they have submitted their petition to the select board. When the select board has the signatures verified, certified, then they will refer it to us
And we'll need to schedule up.
as a zoning article
Yes.
for a hearing.
Yeah, so,
In the past, there has been a certain amount of streamlining that behind the scenes, but that is the formality. Okay, is that all on, town meeting?
Yeah, I did. There's a few. I submitted so I submitted placeholders for the warrant for the articles that we had spoken about previously that we had already discussed and voted on at the last meeting. So those three are in. I submitted a place. This one is all set. We were hoping to try and get the Gristmill subdivision. We were under the impression that the developer would be ready sooner than anticipated. So I did put in a placeholder just for now, but we're going to pass over that for the road acceptance for Millstone Drive, which is the Gristmill Village. They still need to do their determination of completeness process, and I had submitted my placeholder as an abundance of caution, but it's likely not going to happen. So. Other than that, that's it.
Okay, the three articles, our three articles, need to be referred to us by the select board. And we need to set up a hearings.
Yep.
And it's generally cleanest if we can try to get all our warrant articles that are all the zoning related warrant articles are the same hearing date.
No,
We'll
the
see.
citizens is different.
It's easier, but it doesn't have to be.
Doesn't matter. Okay. Bills?
I didn't see any bills.
No.
Don't see any
Okay.
bills.
No bills.
Minutes of previous meetings.
We still have one discussion item,
Which one?
3B.
Oh, I already
Oh, yeah.
crossed it off because I thought we were about to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, but haven't we talked about this?
Yeah, this is really this is just something
LPA.
that I included because I just want to let the have everybody on the board be privy to the information. So we have through CMRPC we get local planning assistant hours, and they are accrued when members of the board attend CMRPC events. And we had 24 every year. They're renewed, and we have 24 hours. I just wanted to update the board and let them know that I have requested through Bob, who is our CMRPC delegate, to use 4 hours for an open space parcel acquisition project that we're closing out with CMRPC. 2 hours were used for CMRPC to attend and present the materials at the last Open Space and Recreation Committee meeting, and the other 2 hours are going to be used to just present the final deliverables to the select board, which will be on May 7th. May 7th, yes. So, and then I also did request, so following town meeting, there was a few minor edits that needed to be done to the zoning map, which I couldn't do in-house because of all of the layers on the PDF. So I had CMRPC handle it and add the town logo and at the AppGeo logo and things like that to be in line with our typical format. So that was 2 hours used. So so yeah, we're in good shape. 18 left to use on what we'd like, and Bob does have to provide the approval as our delegate and as our chair.
Actually, as chair of the planning board, although since the delegate is probably a better, I've been involved in the LPA since it was invented, well, almost. And I'm the one that cuts the 24 hours worth of attendance. You only get 1 hour for any meeting, no matter how many of you go
Right.
to a meeting. So I must have been at least 24 meetings, which of course I have.
Yeah, right, exactly. That is how that works. So if you're going to a meeting, anyone on the board, Bob knows this already, but you earn us hours. So
On that, there's something that's tangential to this board but does relate to CMRPC. Is I had some brief conversation with some people from the CPC as well, and I know they've been talking. Some of them have been talking to you, Fiona, but about the Affordable Housing Trust annual report and financial report that they want. The conversation is that it shouldn't be you as staff doing it, but
yeah,
it should be done. And the suggestion that they said, and I've had someone else suggest it too, is that the type of thing that CMRPC might be able and willing to help with with their expertise. I don't know if that falls under LPA hours, and it's not a planning board type of thing. So I don't know how that would play out in terms of having it done by CMRPC.
yeah. I mean, I guess if it was amenable to the board, and I guess we could do that. I don't see why. I don't really know all
No
of the.
idea what would be in this, or how much of a challenge it is.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but I was,
So we're still waiting on that.
to my knowledge, yes. I haven't talked to the Affordable Housing Trust members directly, but
But they didn't use any yeah, we can talk about it offline. But yeah, I can ask and just see
I don't know.
if we can use LPA hours. Cause I wouldn't want to use up our hours on something that it's not directly related to something that we're doing, and I don't know if there's like rules around that, but I'll check.
The question more is, for me, is does CMRPC do this with any mechanism other than LPA hours to help out? And I don't know.
Yeah, they
Well-
do like DLTA funding
Yeah,
for projects.
Anyway,
If I had any idea what it is that you're trying to accomplish, or they're trying to accomplish,
Yeah.
I might be able to help you,
I'll
since I'm on all the committees.
I'll send a brief email after this meeting to you and Fiona, at least, which just you I'm saying it to. It doesn't count open meeting related, but
No,
it's not really planning board business anyway, technically.
yeah, they're in a particular circumstance. They have a different legal standing. I've forgotten, something came by lately
Yeah, it's
for the trust. They, are somewhat independent and
yeah that
whatever.
they're not technically a town body, but they're
Yeah,
anyway.
and, anyway, we'll wait until we, hear about it, because I have to see. Okay, minutes of, did I ask for minutes of previous meetings?
You
I
started to,
did,
but
and
then I
you,
cut you off.
and you jumped in.
But I did not see any minutes on the
Okay.
agenda.
Staff report.
Yeah, so the focus, I'm going on vacation from the 1st to the 16th, so my focus has been preparing for this meeting and the follow-up that's required prior to the next meeting, and that's what I've been doing and will be doing. I've also been doing other things, but I just want the board to be aware that any like extra things that are needed outside of that, it's not gonna happen, because this week is the last week that I have before I go away. So with that being said, a couple of, things that I was able to do, outside of just, planning board specific things. As I mentioned, we had, and I don't know if Dave, you'd want to speak to this, but I'll just say that our parcel prioritization parcel prioritization project has moved along swimmingly, and CMRPC was a great partner in this. For those who don't know, we applied for district local technical assistance funding for to complete one of the action items in our open space and recreation plan, which was prioritizing parcels for acquisition by the town to help preserve open space and recreation opportunities. So we came up with a really cool map with Excel and Excel spreadsheets that have all of our kind of data with which ranks our open space parcels in town, and categorizes by criteria. So if you meet certain criteria, and you hit a certain score, you're ranked higher, and then that ranking is reflected in the parcel data, which is shown on a map. And we're also working on integrating that with our GIS consultant. So that's really exciting, and I'm really happy about it. And I'm sure Dave will speak to that more, but so that was a really nice thing to see. After about a year, we finalized that project, and we're, as I mentioned, it's going before the select board on May 7th. For the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative wayfinding grant that we received, we are hosting an ideation workshop on the 18th of April at 3 p.m. We encourage everybody to please come and share your thoughts about wayfinding, branding, signage, all things signage and wayfinding at this workshop. Our consultant, Mark Faberman from Faberman Design, will be there to present and address the public, talk about, what are kind of the, what do you think of when you think of the town of Grafton, images, kind of striking images, and how we can kind of tailor our branding to really reflect the priorities of the community. So we're looking forward to that, and I'm finalizing a flyer, and we'll start circulating that in earnest tomorrow. But yes, it's on the 18th at 3 p.m. and it's going to be at the community barn. So please, spread the word, help me spread the word, and come if you can. I know it's at 3 p.m., which is kind of tough for some people, but if you can get away, We would love to see you there. There's been some issues with Fisherville Terrace, which is a 40B. So it's really not under our purview, but it's been brought to my attention, so I've been kind of keeping my eye on it. Significant water shedding onto abutting properties. Graves Engineering has been out, written up a report, and stormwater and erosion controls have been, additional controls have been implemented, and the site is stabilized as of late last week. But I'm not sure if anyone on the board had any questions about that specifically, but that was definitely a cause for concern last week, especially with the rain that was coming this past weekend. So we really mobilized to try and get them to move on that. So we'll be watching it closely, and they keep, if the controls don't remain stabilized throughout the duration of the project and continue to shed water again, I should say, then enforcement action will have to be taken against them.
That thing at 3 p.m. on the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
How much participation do you think you're gonna get outside of people who?
Well, we're hoping for at least 35. So we're gonna try and circulate it as much as we can, but it was limited. We were trying to work around people's available schedules, and that was the time that.
I can see staff. I can see working with staff people that way, but I don't see public input. Who's gonna come?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I could talk to him about moving it into the evening. And
Well, I just okay. I don't have anything
And
on the 18th, so
Okay.
although I don't know whether I have any ideas either. But
the other thought from me for a 3 p.m. on a weekday is you're not hitting people who generally work 9 to 5s. You're not you're not even hitting people that are stay at home for families, because kids get home from school around that time, depending on the school building they go to.
Mm-hmm.
So you're missing out on 2 potential groups of people you could get. Now, evenings are usually easier for at least one member of a household to attend, generally.
well, anyway.
Generally.
Point,
okay, yeah.
point made. Okay. Any other staff report?
Yes. Let me pull it up. I applied for a municipal fiber grant through Community Compact for the public Wi-Fi hotspots that we're looking to do. So I'm looking forward to hearing the outcome of that. It would be very, very nice to be able to have half that project paid for, and then be able to use our ARPA funds on the remainder. So yeah, I'm happy about that, and happy to answer any questions about anything specific.
You ought to let me know for the other committees that I'm on, what's going on with that, because we've talked about cable money.
Yeah, we're still trying to connect with CMD. They did eventually get back to me, but I have not had a second to work with them, and quite frankly, it's because it's taken so long for them to get back to me, and now I'm extremely busy. I think we might have to wait until I'm back from vacation, unless they want to move ahead and we can have a representatives from boards and committees there, and someone can go on my behalf. I'm happy to do that to move the project along.
Yeah, I imagine if something would, if it happened that something could be set up while you're gone, Bob and I would both be able to
Whatever
participate.
Right.
I won't speak for you, Bob, but
Yeah.
Well, you got to be careful. There is stuff on there. Not a lot of stuff, but there's stuff on there. And it tends to build up.
Okay.
I have enough
So
committee.
I'll connect with them. I'll connect with CMD about meeting with the appropriate parties to start talking about implementing the Wi-Fi hotspots. It's been very, very challenging to hear back from people. And now, of course, I'm going away, and then they answer me. So I'll work on that in a minute.
it will happen when it happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just as long as it doesn't totally go into the bit bucket.
The bit
Yeah.
bucket. What is a bit bucket?
A black hole,
Oh,
the place where data goes to never be seen again.
yeah.
That's an old techie term, I guess.
It's been a normal term.
Yeah, some of us know exactly what the bit bucket is.
Yeah.
Right.
So, correspondence.
Yeah, so few interesting things from CMRPC or one was CMMPO, Central Mass Metropolitan Planning Organization. One thing I noticed just to call out is it's a notice of a public meeting in our details there, but they talk about the Grafton Millbury Street improvements almost doubling in price from 1.9 million to an increase of 1.2 million. So that's interesting to try to, if anybody can attend, either us or public, to just understand why that is, and I would like to know a better idea of what the impact is on like our town's responsibilities with regards to that money, or if it's coming straight from the state only.
You know that I sit on the CMMPO.
I did not realize you did.
I'm the CMRPC representative. There's like 11 votes or something like that. We have one of them. I was on it back when there were only 4 members.
Okay.
And I was on the changeover at the Feds. Never mind. We're not going to find out much about that, but
yeah.
Mass Highway, MassDOT. Okay. I don't think that's being funded out of our region's tip money. I think it's being funded out of state funds.
I believe that's the case.
Yeah, so
And I think I've spoken to the DPW director, Mr. Canoyer, about what we can do in terms of the Millbury Street improvements, because there's some things on the tier 2 prioritization plan for complete streets that pertain to that area, and there's an application period that's open in October that we're looking to pursue. We couldn't make this recent round because it's just been too busy, and but we'll go back. It's every year you get an opportunity to apply in the spring and in the fall, so we're gonna have a game plan for the fall.
CMRPC's been moving ahead on being able to give more help on some things, like I think it was just voted that they can give help with applications for projects where in the past all they could do was you could the town had to put money up ahead to like for a project to do the design. Anyway, there is some new opportunities, so be sure you keep in touch with our friends up there.
Will do.
The only other thing I wanted to call out on the correspondence is from Nathan Lewis at CMRPC about the mass e-bike program that they're expanding outside of Worcester and have applications to either complimentary e-bike or a voucher for a discount on the original price
for qualifying people.
Yes, and they want us to share it with the community. And in our correspondence, that send to us has a link to a flyer, but that flyer got missed in the actual correspondence packet. But that's probably not a huge deal. We can look it up if we need to. But
yeah, Grafton is one of the towns involved in that this time around. This is the second round. Worcester had a first round with e-bikes.
Just wanted to point that out.
Okay. Blending right into reports from planning board representatives on town committees and its MRPC.
So, nothing major to add to what I've known.
As the board's representative on the Open Space and Recreation Committee, I will just mention briefly that the committee met last week for essentially our final meeting with the CMRPC folks who have been doing the work on the parcel prioritization project that Fiona was just talked about a few minutes ago. If I remember correctly, we're expecting to put that on this board's agenda for the April 8th meeting, a discussion of that. So I won't go into much detail on that. At the next meeting, we'll have the materials for that, and we can, we can sort of show everybody what this is all about and what it means. I don't need to say anything more about it tonight. If you get me started talking about it tonight, I'll end up spending a half hour lecturing about
No,
it.
you
so
won't.
You don't want that.
No, you won't. Where's my gavel? Anything else, folks? Is there anything else that may legally come before us?
Move to adjourn.
Moved and seconded, not debatable.
All right. Mr. Davidson,
Aye.
Mr. Robbins.
Aye.
I vote aye. Mr. Venkataraman
Aye.
and Mr. Hassinger.
Aye, we're adjourned.